To get us started here at Rural Roads, it's so important, whether we're connecting face to face in our beautiful space or in a virtual world like we are today, to have an acknowledgement of our traditional lands. Here at Rural Roads University, we acknowledge that our campus is located on the traditional lands of the Quisepsum and Lekwungen ancestors and families. It's with great gratitude that we live, learn, work, and play in this space where past, present, and future Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, staff, and faculty come together. This is a great time to test out that chat box function. So again, looking at that black bar below, give the chat box button a click and let us know, where in the world are you joining us today? And if you're coming into the webinar with any specific questions already, you know where to pop them right into that chat box. We are so excited today to talk to you about our suite of global leadership programs here at Rural Roads University. My name is Selena Kunar, and I'm an education advisor here on campus and a soon-to-be graduate of our MA in Global Leadership program. So I am double excited to be here talking about this exciting suite of programs. And I'm so thrilled that we're doing so with Dr. Wanda Krause, who's the program head of our global leadership programs here at Rural Roads University. Thanks for being with us today, Wanda.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Selena. Really glad to see people joining from all over the world. I've seen there's someone from Bolivia. We've got someone from Mexico City, Bangladesh, Nigeria. So keep popping in where you're from. It's really exciting to bring people from different time zones as well. So good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Wanda Krause, as Selena just mentioned, program head of the Global Leadership Program. We have a suite of programs, several that I'll describe in just a couple of minutes, but a little bit, someone else from Nigeria, awesome, and Hong Kong. So I'm located a little bit outside the university on what are Wasanish traditional family lands. And if you noticed, Selena mentioned the lands on which she's on, which is where the university is located. Alana is joining us as well. Alana, I'm not sure where you're speaking from at the moment, if you're on campus as well. Alana is joining us to be able to support us during this webinar, answer any questions you have regarding admissions. And I think she's also popped in her email in case there's anything that we don't cover over this time. A little bit about me. I'm from Canada. I was born and raised in Canada, in particular the north of Canada, where for many people coming over find it very cold, and it's more of an isolated area. And it's a very beautiful part of Canada, and it's very similar. You'll see perhaps behind me a little picture of Victoria. So it's very similar on the west coast to Victoria. Victoria is surrounded by beautiful mountains as well. It's a gorgeous part of Canada. And I'm very happy to be here on these lands, very grateful to be working from the Wasanish traditional family lands and the Quisepsum and Lekwungen family lands as well. So acknowledging the traditional lands of the people who have stewarded these lands for a very long time. I've, however, spent more or most of my adult life abroad. So worked and lived in Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Germany, the UK, and then did a lot of consulting and also teaching and research work in other countries in the Middle East and Europe, as well in Asia. So that's my global experience. My geographical and thematic areas are politics, Middle East politics in particular, gender issues, civil society. So my work is really looking mostly at how to create and expand civil society. So that's just a little bit about me. Many of the faculty within the program have various different backgrounds. So you'll find an incredible diversity within the program among faculty. Thanks, Selena.
Thank you so much, Wanda. We got to kick off our webinar beautifully by learning a little bit about who we are and a little bit about you and where you're tuning in from today. So as Wanda shared, please continue popping those introductions in the chat box. We have an extraordinarily global group with us today, which is so wonderful and so exciting. So please keep those introductions coming because it is wonderful to meet all of you. We're going to head quickly into an exploration of the RRU student experience, and then of course, head over to talk about the programs themselves, cap off with talking about our application and requirements, and then of course, leave time for questions and conversations as well. But again, pop those questions into our chat box as they come up for you. So Wanda mentioned that we are situated in this beautiful place, Victoria, BC. We're quite lucky that here in Victoria, we have some of the most mild weather in Canada. So the pictures you see here of our beautiful campus are a pretty fair look at what our campus looks like most times around the year. You'll notice we have Hatley Castle. You may recognize it from films like the X-Men, Deadpool, or some Disney franchises as well. In that same photograph, looking beyond Hatley Castle, you see a variety of our teaching and learning buildings. Close by Hatley Castle, we have a variety of curated gardens. So on the photo on the top row on the right, you're seeing a picture of our beautiful Japanese gardens. So that said, while we have some beautifully curated gardens and different space, we are located on over 500 acres of overgrowth forest. So you'll notice that not only students and staff and faculty are all over our campus enjoying the beautiful space, but many community members join us as well for the beautiful hiking trails. On the bottom left corner there, that's a Esquimalt Lagoon. So it is just across from our Hatley Castle, and it's actually a registered bird sanctuary as well. So not only beautiful, but populated with lots of fun critters to keep this campus extra alive. And then finally, you'll see a photo here of some students coming together for online learning. Royal Roads pioneered a blending learning model over 25 years ago, where we brought together the best of an online learning experience and in-person on-campus intensives as well to create this new way of learning, teaching, and researching here at Royal Roads University. Being a university for working professionals, it was so important for us to make sure that our education was relevant, applicable, and accessible. So a big part of that is how we deliver our programs. In a few slides, we'll talk about how our global leadership programs are delivered, but this program is one of many that ensure that we meet the needs of our students by being offered in a variety of ways. So whether you're joining us in the blended intake or joining us fully on campus, sharing this beautiful space, you'll notice very quickly that here at Royal Roads, we move through education a bit differently. We've committed to keeping a conversational approach to our teaching and learning because we believe that when your faculty become part of your peer groups and part of the conversation, learning becomes a real way of life on our campus as our classrooms become think tanks. Having majority of our students be working professionals means that our students are not only encouraged, but expected to bring challenges and opportunities they face in their workplace into our classrooms. So together, not only are we engaging in theory and hypothetical learning, but as a group, we are working on real world problem solving in real time. Inside our classrooms, not only will you meet our wonderful teaching faculty, folks who we call scholar practitioners, so those who are not only academic experts in their field, but who are out in the world putting into practice what they teach in our classrooms. You'll also be surrounded by a diverse group of individuals who are coming from a variety of academic, professional, and personal backgrounds. We're so excited that this program is one of many on our campus that operate using the cohort learning model. So that means you'll start your program with a selected group of individuals, and you'll actually move through each course together all the way to that convocation finish line. Speaking to my experience in the program, I can say my cohort started as a wonderful academic focused support group where we were all helping each other through the program, bouncing ideas off each other, slowly transitioning into this group of individuals where we shared a common ground based in our interest in global leadership, but such difference in the professional worlds we were working in. So it ended up becoming a real resource for me in my professional space. And now moving close to convocation, our group has blossomed from this very purposeful, academic focused group to a wonderful group of friends, a group of a professional network, and folks who just love to have a lot of fun together. So it's really exciting that this cohort learning model is something that's embedded within this program. So I've talked a little bit about the railroads experience, and it was starting to blend a little bit more into the MAGL experience, that MA in Global Leadership. So this is a great time for me to pass the baton back to Wanda to tell us a little bit more about the programs themselves. So over to you, Wanda.
Thanks again, Selena. Perhaps if we went to the next slide, I can point out the goal of the program is to support those who have some leadership experience, and in particular leadership experience in the global context, and what that entails is perhaps being in organizations or work or significant travel that has led to reflection and learning around global leadership in context, and how to connect challenges and issues, perhaps struggles, and whatever that is, to change on the global level. So we support you further using more theory to bring together your experiences and all the background that you bring into this cohort, into this cohort model, where it's not just facilitators teaching, it's also you guiding one another and learning together. So what we help you with is the theoretical aspect and practice of what you learn in the classroom around global leadership, which we define as the capacity to lead and support yourself, others, then organizations, then communities, and complex systems in ways that enhance the well-being of communities and the planet, given that both are interdependent, focused on urgent issues of today, so both today and planning for the future. Thank you. Next slide, Selena. So here's a list of who this is for. As you can see, it's a very long list, and before I read them off, I'll just point out that we get the question all the time, who is this program for? And I think applicants have an intuition when they ask that it's for them. And the interesting thing is it's for diverse people. So people coming together know deep down this program is for them, but they're coming from different sectors, as you can see. So, and we have experience of people coming in from the UN, as example, international non-governmental organizations, Indigenous organizations within Canada, and also we're beginning to see more students from Indigenous organizations coming in from other places around the world and sharing experiences and learning together. Human rights organizations is a natural fit as well. International leadership, post-secondary institutions, so higher education institutions, whatever those are that are related to in your work in particular. So not necessarily the institutions, but your work being related in some way to global leadership. Businesses, we have people coming from the business sector as well. Of course, community-based organizations, those are civil society organizations. Social enterprise businesses in particular is a draw for applicants, are coming from those. And so with that, obviously also social purpose organizations. We have seen more recently a lot more people coming in from climate change oriented roles, wanting to enhance their capacities. And of course, that means planetary health oriented work. So even if you don't see your sector here, know that probably you are very aligned in terms of what you will gain from the program and where you want to go. And so that will be the next slide that we speak to. All right, so we've got 3 different, let's call it levels, the certificate, diploma, and the master's. And why I call them levels is because you can stop at the certificate level for whatever reason. We hear from some applicants that they want to simply get a certificate to have a little bit of grounding in global leadership. So not the full level or extent of a master's of what that would require of them. Often that's for 2 reasons. One, because applicants want to just dip their toes in the water a little bit and see what the experience will be like. And from what I can tell you, almost all of those from that one category will continue on. That's just been our experience. And then there's others who join in for their certificate because they already have a master's or a doctorate level degree, or have some experience where they just want to gain a little bit more, again, in global leadership. The same applies to the diploma. Here you go in a little bit more deeply, where you take 2 electives in addition to the foundational courses that you take for the certificate. And the master's has 2 different streams. One that takes you 2 years to complete the master's, and one where it's a very intensive experience of 13 months. And so you complete your master's within just over a year, but it's intensive, meaning that we expect that you're not working if you're doing the fast-tracked stream, the 13-month, and dedicating your time only to your studies, because you are taking multiple courses at the same time. With the 2-year, 24-month program, most of the applicants are actually working. Most of the students are actually working. So you can, it's still intensive. So not to say that it's going to be easy, but you do have a little bit of breathing space to work or attend to other needs. All right. Thanks, Selena, for putting that in the chat. Yes. All right, so if you were to do the certificate or the diploma, these are the courses, as you can see on the slide, that you'd be jumping right into with 501 as your first course. That's a 3-credit course, and that just gives you the theoretical foundations of global leadership. So you start a little bit lightly, and then you go into 505, where many students will say it's not so light anymore. GBLD 505, Personal Capacities for Working in Complex Global Systems, is a 9-credit course. So what that means is essentially 3 courses wrapped up into one. It's very intensive. And we have a 2-week residency where you come onto campus for those who are in the blended program. And I didn't mention on the slide before, but you do have 2 options, which we'll go into in a little bit, which is the blended program, where you're doing your studies mostly online, except for when you come onto campus for your residency. Residency, again, being within this course, GBLD 505. And then your second residency in year 2, if you're in the 2-year program. If you're in the 13-month program, you would join 2 months later with another cohort. So we're getting a little bit complicated here, but just know there are 2 times you are coming onto campus if you are in the blended program. If you're on the on-campus program, you are on campus. And then those of you who would be doing the diploma, in addition to those 2 courses, as I just mentioned earlier, you are doing 2 courses, 2 elective courses. Next slide, Selena. All right, so you don't need to memorize this. This gets into the weeds a little bit, but also for those of you who like to have an idea of what the program structure looks like, here you go. So the 501, GBLD 501 course that I just mentioned, you start off with, or you kick off whatever program you're going into together. So whether that's the certificate you're joining, the diploma, or the master's, everyone joins together in this one course, and you join in online, even if you're on the on-campus. Then you go into GBLD 505. Again, everybody is joining into this course still, so you're still as a cohort moving through together. And this is the 9-credit, very intensive course where you come onto campus. For those of you who are in the blended, those of you who are in the on-campus program, you stay and join classes in person on campus. Then you separate out if you are in the on-campus stream or you're in the blended online stream. These are the courses, as you can see. They're all the same for the most part. Some courses are not on campus and are just online. And you separate out for the most part in some cases, and what we've done, the impetus being COVID in the past year, is bring students in together for some of these courses. So we've run just one course so far, and we've been able to bring students together in some of the classes. So in a way, a little bit of a hybrid fashion. And I'll just mention as well, because of COVID, we did bring in, we had a completely different model than what you see, where we brought in students online and on campus all together for the GBLD 505 course. And it was extremely successful. Students loved it. And in future, we might anticipate, and I'm just putting it out there, but it's not official, okay? We can anticipate something being similar. So just putting it out there for those of you who have joined. Once you enter the second residency, be prepared for those of you who are in the blended, if we're going along with this model in front of you, that you will be joining again for now 2 weeks. And you'll be joining your on-campus cohort again. So you come together again, even though you've been separated out for a bit. And then you go into a capstone. So after all your courses, it's a different experience once you go into your capstone because you're working directly with a supervisor. So just between you and your supervisor doing a capstone, that lasts about 5.5 months. You're doing a project, and there's a variety of different projects you can be doing. It's a 6-credit course for GBLD 640, which is the capstone. For those who really do want to do an internship, we can speak. So there is a possibility still to do an internship, but we talk about what that might look like for you if that's something you really have your heart set on. Otherwise, we are encouraging students, and this is just the way it seems to be working for most students who do their master's, is to go into a capstone. All right, and just keep in mind we can answer questions at the end, so please hold on to your questions for now. And okay, so the field trip. You would have noticed in the slide before, perhaps, that there is a course called GBLD 535, the field trip, where typically, now this is pre-COVID, so typically we go abroad, and unfortunately last year we were not able to go abroad. So we hosted the same course online. You'll see pictures here of when we went to Quito, so Ecuador, and we went to many different places, of course, within Ecuador. Here are some pictures up on the upper left. You'll see that we are in Quito in that case, just walking the streets and visiting, many places that are relevant to global leadership learning. It's a very intensive time of about 12 days that we're in country and traveling. So it's a very dedicated time to that experience. And here you'll see some of the students speaking to the military, and then also, so the military learning from students. And here we have an exchange back and forth of learning from one another. In the lower left, you'll see students and myself right there at the very back, walking down a hill. And that's an area where students get to learn a little bit more about community development as one case study or one example. Students have excursions into many parts of the country we go into. Again, here the example is Ecuador, and it won't always be Ecuador, but we have gone in the past to Ecuador. And students learn, in this case, there was a great shortage of water, how the community was dealing with this challenge, and how they collaborate with other communities and other entities within the country to address this challenge. So students learn not only theory, but in practice, how to apply global leadership learnings in such situations. And in my experience, students have learned so much at this point. They want to jump in, they want to help, they've got ideas, and there are opportunities for exchange, but really the opportunities for students to learn from those who are there doing community development. So it's a very challenging time, and it's rich learning. In the lower right, so lower right of the screen, you'll see students going down the Amazon and visiting. In this case, we visited different groups that live along the Amazon River, so indigenous groups who help students learn what challenges they are facing with globalization and how they're trying to mitigate these challenges. And it's a wonderful opportunity to learn on the ground what these look like in context. Again, students always want to jump in with ideas, but the purpose is an opportunity to learn. And as I mentioned, we had the experience in India this past year online, and it was fabulous. Students will tell you, and we've had a webinar and we have blog posts that describe the experience of students and their learning. They'll say that, it was virtual, but in the model that we had, students got to really go into the spaces. They were invited into the spaces of activists and those they were helping, and learn what those challenges are. These are, some of the greater challenges we have in the world because they're very compounded. And students got to really see what activists and community development practitioners are doing to support. So a lot of rich learning still happened online. Okay, so I'll shift gears a little bit from the excursion or the virtual or in-country learning. I will just put out there that we don't know what next year will look like, where we'll be with our next excursion. And of course, COVID still poses a challenge to that one course. Okay, completion options. I think we just went into, so we can skip, except for what I'll mention is for those of you who are doing the 2-year program, by the time you get to your your capstone or internship options, we will have a third option in place for you, which is the ability to go abroad. So for those of you who want to go abroad, you can do 2 courses in country instead of doing a capstone or internship. And those will count as the 6 credits that you would still need to complete your program. Yeah, okay, I guess that's it from my my contributions today. I'm happy to answer questions at the end, and now turn it back to Selena for how to apply to the program.
Thank you so much, Wanda. These webinars are such a short amount of time to talk about all of the different components of our program. So thank you for the whirlwind exposure to all the different moving pieces of a program so wonderful as this. Well, now we're going to move on to how to apply. So to kick off the conversation, we're going to talk about the admissions into this program. So if you've done some digging on our website, you may have noticed that here at Railroads, we have something called standard admissions as well as flexible admissions. So I'll start with reading off our standard admissions. So we would look for applicants with a 4-year or comparable undergraduate degree from a recognized post-secondary institution, having completed their studies with a minimum GPA of a B. We'll also look for applicants to have a minimum of 3 years of general leadership experience. And you'll notice there we have that asterisk behind leadership. And that's because if you were to head to our website, you'll see that we have such a beautiful and comprehensive view of what leadership experience could mean. So yes, that can mean in your professional world, you have a job with a title that is related to positional leadership. So you're a manager, a supervisor, a director. But we also want to highlight that leadership experience doesn't necessarily mean that you must be someone seated in a role of positional leadership. Looking at that definition, you'll see that when we speak to leadership experience, we're looking to your experience having led a group to meet a common goal, your experience working with others, your experiences in a variety of different realms, whether that is professional, volunteer, or personal, that can emulate these things that we consider leadership experience. And then, of course, being a program called Global Leadership, we also expect our applicants to demonstrate significant cross-cultural experience gained through work or travel. So coming to flexible admissions is something we're so proud of here at our university because we were positioned, or we were created as a university for working professionals. And this is where we really get to put our money where our mouth is, if to say, because this is where we show that here at Rural Roads, it's not only academic experience that we're interested in learning about, it's all of your different experiences, personal, professional, all the things that have helped you come to where you are today. So for flexible admissions, we have folks who have at least 10 years of professional experience, with 3 of those being leadership experience, and then as well demonstrate significant cross-cultural experience gained through work or travel. So if when I was reading standard admissions, you thought, oh, I don't have that undergraduate degree, or, oh, I have it, but my GPA wasn't quite a B. Well, that's when we'll look to flexible admissions because we recognize that folks with significant experience in the professional field will be able to add a different type of richness to our classrooms. Flexible admissions is something that's assessed on a case-by-case basis. So if you have any questions about your background and what it could mean for entry into this program, please connect with us as we're always happy to help unpack that. Part of coming in through flexible admissions, we're recognizing that perhaps not having experienced a formal degree, or for folks who have and are just, perhaps a significant amount of time since their last stint in an academic institution, We request and require our applicants to complete a course done on our campus called Academic Writing and Critical Thinking. This is a well-loved course on our campus, with many of our programs having the requirement for their flexible admissions applicants or those who don't meet the GPA requirement to undertake this course to make sure that once you start the program, you're not needing to focus on, okay, well, how do I write an academic paper? What what is APA citation? Instead, everyone has the foundational knowledge to be able to just dive right into the content, the learning, and the conversations happening in your classrooms. So we expect that course to be completed prior to beginning the program and for folks to obtain a minimum of a B+. Again, as it's well loved on our campus, we generally have intakes once a month, if not more than that. So if you have any questions about this course, connect with our offices. So how to apply? Well, as with most things these days, it kicks off with an online application. And right now, that online application includes a fee of $128.81. Once your online application is in, we then get to learn more about you through your supporting documents. So for example, we'd look for official transcripts, a personal statement, a detailed resume, and 2 letters of reference. Our website is a wonderful guide to look to when you're putting together these documents because it has some helpful information, particularly for the personal statement. We have some questions that can help you um, help you understand what we're hoping to learn about you through your personal statement. So you get a better idea of, okay, what should I be talking about in this document? For your detailed resume, we have helpful hints and tricks around what categories and how they should be put together to bring all of your accomplishments to life. And then, of course, we have some more practical details, such as how long should these documents be? How do my referees get their letters to your offices? And how do I ensure my transcripts stay official? Spoiler alert on that one. They do need to arrive at our institution sealed. And then, of course, we do have some options that become if applicable given your situation. So we may look for folks to provide credit evaluation reports or English language proficiency scores. So talking about the application process, it's so important to share the upcoming intakes. So as you've noticed, we have a variety of programs within this suite. So our graduate certificate, our graduate diploma, our Master of Arts, they're offered on campus and on campus and blended. And then we also have some different formats in terms of the length of the program, 13 months or 24 months when speaking to our MA in global leadership. Well, we have a variety of different ways you can customize your experience in this program. What's really helpful is their start dates are all the same. So looking at this slide, you'll see that October 3rd, 2022 will be a very exciting day for us here because that's the day that our suite of global leadership programs begin for 2022. So that puts our application deadline for all of these different programs or ways of learning with us as July 3rd, 2022. This is a great time for me to mention that here at Rural Roads, we accept applications on an ongoing basis. So that means we're not actually going to wait until July 3rd and then take a look at all of the different applications that came in. Instead, as your online application is submitted and your supporting documents are provided to our teams, we're able to adjudicate your file and let you know about your seat in our program. So with that, if you have any questions, as always, we're happy to continue chatting. It's also important for us to share that on our campus, we have a variety of different teams here to help support your journey from new student all the way to alumni. So this slide just shows a few folks on campus who are here to support your journey from student engagement, Indigenous student services, international student services, our rec center, career and learning development teams, counseling service, accessibility services, and financial aid and awards. As to be expected, we get a lot of questions around financial aid, and that is wonderful. Financial planning is a critical component to what comes next in terms of your post-secondary education. So that's why we wanted to amplify this team and share their website and their direct phone lines in case you have any questions. These specialists they have their fingertips on resources available both internally at Railroads, but also have their eye on some things that could be accessible to you outside of Railroads as well. So if you have any questions around loans, awards, scholarships, or other types of funding, please connect directly with our financial aids and award office, as they're the ones who have the expertise around providing you with information that is helpful to you. And we'll be sure to include their information in our follow-up communications as well. So I should share that, throughout this webinar, I've been saying connect with our offices, connect with our teams. Well, here is how you do that. Alana is just one beautiful example of the enrollment team members we have here on our campus. We're eager to talk to you about this program or any others on our campus as well. So if you are looking for in-depth program details, help around admission requirements, the application process, or are interested in learning more about the services and supports available to our students, you can connect with Alana and her team at learn.more@railroads.ca. And that team works with Canadian citizens, permanent residents, landed immigrants, or refugees. And her counterparts in our international enrollment and admissions teams are excited to chat with our international citizens and temporary residents at learn.more.international@railroads.ca. It's important to send your questions to the right team, as we have specialists embedded in these teams who work directly with different regions within the world and have an understanding of what the requirements can be for you in terms of visa, any other documentation if you're looking towards Railroads University. For our international citizens and temporary residents, you can always connect via WhatsApp as well. So again, I'll include this scannable code in our follow-up communications, but that's just one other way you can get connected with some wonderful people to chat about RRU and what could be available for you. So with that, we've come to a close on the formal part of our presentation today, but I see our chat box has come alive. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing my screen and head into that chat box so we can start talking about some questions that have come up. So I'm going to scroll up to the top because we had a wonderful question quite early on asking about if we could start in the graduate certificate, move to the diploma, and then move to the master's. As Wanda highlighted, absolutely. Many learners, including myself, start off in one place for whatever reason that makes sense for them. And speaking from my experience, you meet your cohort, you fall in love with the learning and the people you're learning with, and it's exciting to make sure that that journey continues. So absolutely, you can start at any component, at any part of this puzzle, and move your way to putting the full picture together, if that is what you're interested in. We have a question here around having applied for the Global Leadership Program and the process of response, because the visa approval process can be quite lengthy. And that is a great question. So Alana has shared in our chat box, if you're someone who has already applied for the program and you have questions around the processing of your application, please connect directly with admissions@railroads.ca, as they're the folks who can get you information around your admission status. And then Alana also shared a link here of how you can log into your account with Railroads University and check a status that way as well. Alana has also shared wonderful insights around some application components that might be helpful for our international prospects. So she shared a link to the English language requirements for these programs. She shared that international English language testing systems, the IELTS, academic overall, was academic 6.5 overall, with a minimum of 6.5 in writing and speaking, and a 6 in listening and reading. And then she's also shared a link here to help folks move through that international credential evaluation, if that is applicable to you. In reference to the question we were just exploring, Alana shared that we do recommend our international applicants to submit and complete their application and supporting documents at least 6 months before the program start date to ensure you have enough time for your application to process and apply for and receive your study permit. But of course, if you have any questions about any of that process, what it could mean for you, Alana has shared the link to how you can contact her and her team. And you can always use the email addresses shared in the previous slide as well. They'll all get to the same place, and these wonderful folks will connect. So coming back to our chat box real quick, we have a question here around the size of class. So the size of our cohorts. So Wanda, maybe I can pass it over to you to speak to that.
Sure. So COVID has impacted this year's number in comparison to last year's, where we had, I believe, it would have been about 32 students joining the cohort in October of 2021. And the previous year, I believe it was closer to 40. So there was a little bit of a dip. And the year before, I believe it was about 27. So that's as far as my memory is going. Normally we have a trajectory of increasing numbers. Of course, we don't want to go beyond, what is comfortable for student learning. And so my prediction, and I could be completely off with my prediction, is that we're expecting for the next cohort, so the one that you would be joining if your application comes through, would be between 30 and 35. And that's based on a number of algorithms that we've taken into consideration. But again, I can be off a little bit. So that's what you'd expect to join with as the blended and on-campus students together in the fall. And keep in mind that you would branch off. So those of you who are on campus would be in a smaller group. Those of you, well, it looks like it won't be that small in comparison to the blended, from what I can see coming through right now, of those who have registered. And then there are those in the blended. And there'll be a lot of opportunity, I anticipate, and I'm gearing up for in many different ways of coordinating those pieces so that both programs can still collaborate moving forward, based on incredible feedback of how that worked in the past year. And it was, again, due to COVID, so kind of like a mistake, but it ended up working well for everyone to support a stronger cohort moving forward. In your experience, what types of jobs do you get by finishing the program? And that is a great question. And it's going to be, my answer is going to be the same as, what I said for those who join the program. It's students aim for some of the similar organizations that I read off. So some students aim to get into the UN, although we have students who have come out of the UN to come into the program. There are those who want to go into the NGO sector abroad, and then there are those who want to stay within Canada. It really depends on whether you're coming from within Canada or within North America, or whether you're coming from countries outside of Canada for me to answer that. What I'll say, and this might speak to you as well, based on those who have come through the program, I hear quite a lot that applicants join the program in order to move laterally into other jobs and roles. So in other places or other programs, the objective may be more so to go up. The latter are up in leadership levels in a particular organization, whereas my experience with the global leadership program is students want to move to a different sector, or they want to enhance their skills, not because they want to move up in position, but because they really want to do better in their current position. I hope that answers your question there. I would like to start the master's in 2023. Is it possible to apply this year? If you applied for this year, you would be accepted into the 2022 fall cohort. There is a possibility for you to request being moved then once you have an acceptance. And if there's possibility, which I can't guarantee at this point, you would be moved to the 2023 cohort. So yes, you can apply. If you have everything that's required and you get in, I anticipate there would be space to move into the 2023. Okay, let me see if there's anything. I think that's it as far as I could see in the chat. Okay, you're welcome, Carlos. If there's any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We've got a couple minutes left. And until anything comes up in the chat, Selena, is there anything that you feel you'd like to speak to very quickly?
Share that. So we did this webinar today. We'll continue to do webinars as we get close to our application deadline. If you're interested in more about, what are the types of conversations we're having in this program? What are different things I'll learn about? What I'll be sure to do in our follow-up communications is I'll include some links to past webinars that we've hosted. We are actually not too far from the completion of our From Local to Global Leadership webinar series, where we explored a variety of global leadership related topics in so many different fields. So we dipped into higher education, the impact of sport on development. We really ran the gambit of topics in that series because we wanted to show that that is what's exemplified in this program. So that's what I want to make sure to get across, is that this program can be what you are excited to make it be. And seeing that we have no other questions in the chat box, Wanda shared her email to answer any questions directly as well. Wanda, was there anything you wanted to share before we capped off?
Yeah, I'll just mention that if you know you would love to join the program, please do get your application package in ASAP. We're at the end of April. You would have seen that Alana put it in typically, and as Selena emphasized already, but I'll just say it again, typically it's about 6 months that if you're international, you'd have your application, the full application in but you never know. You never know. Maybe visas come through, and that's usually where things hinge. As Selena mentioned, we look at your application fairly quickly in a rolling fashion. So we will receive your application once it's complete and then review it as soon as we can. The stickler is the visa and those pieces. So that's why we recommend you getting your application in ASAP if you are international. So looking forward to reviewing them. And for those of you who are almost there with having your application reviewed, I'm looking forward to that as well.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, we have had a full conversation together today, and I hope you have got the feeling that we are so excited to continue having very in-depth conversations about you and your journey here with us at Rural Roads. We hope you all have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where in the world you are and when you're watching this recording. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye, everyone.